Welcome, all of you, to today's conversation on coaching for meaningful change. It'll be a fun exploration. And of course, I'm anticipating that all of you are going to add as much as anything I've got to add to this conversation. So excited to get your input. All right. First off, in terms of the agenda, what's lined up for today? We're going to talk through. So what is meaningful change? And we're going to play with that definition and what it means to us. Then, of course, what's coaching? And combining that, how does coaching support meaningful change for people? That's, of course, what we're about as coaches. What can you do to enhance results, tips and techniques, and resources? How's this sounding? Good. Awesome. All right. First off, for definitions, I went looking for definitions, and the first one I came up with from the free dictionary, they had the definition for meaningful. The obvious, having meaning, function or purpose, a meaningful discussion, showing or conveying meaning, especially without words. So you've heard the expression a meaningful glance. And then I looked up change. And it's to cause to be different, like changing the spelling of a word, or to give a completely different appearance, to transform, as in changing a yard into a garden. And if we combine those definitions for our purposes, what is meaningful change? To purposely make different based on what we're choosing. Coaching. You've all heard this definition, right? I get excited about ICF's definition about coaching. I love the fact that it talks about it as partnering, which is so different than talking about it in terms of, oh, the coach is the expert or the one leading the way or telling you the information, because we're not. It truly is that partner relationship. The thought-provoking and creative process, I'm guessing that makes some of you as excited as it makes me. It's awesome. And we're, of course, helping people maximize their own personal and professional potential. So where does that bring us? Talking about coaching to create meaningful change. So if you think about our process, we partner with the client. We have the client define what they want. And then there's the exploration. What are the opportunities? What are the possible challenges? What are their resources? What are the strategies? What are the specific action steps to move them forward? How are they going to manage their accountability? And of course, build in acknowledging progress and success along the way. I also went further and did some exploration. So on Inc., these are the steps they list. We start by painting the picture. What is it that's wanted? And knowing more than the what, also the why and the how. Keeping people in mind. Communicating with transparency. Emphasizing the benefits. Setting outcomes and goals. Groom change agents. I thought that was an interesting one. Use training wheels. Check in regularly. Make it happen. Keep up the momentum and lead by example. Give me your thoughts or reactions to this list.
Love it. Love it. Succinct, powerful imagery. It explains exactly what we do.
Yeah.
What I like about it is the one that you called out, groom change agents. We can't do it alone. So we have to get people to jump on the bandwagon with us and be a part of creating meaningful change.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the process. Just, it seems so clear. Of course, sometimes it's a little more complicated than that at the same time, the idea of it. So yeah. Then, and I kept looking. So I found this quote from Dr. Phil. The way to get started is to recognize what's really important to you. Who are you and what is your strategy for living? I thought that was really interesting. much bigger than kind of the practical logistical. And of course, in coaching, we talk about both the who and the what and engaging with both. And then Awesomeish had this: set yourself up for success, change your mind, own your goal, change your worldview. Thoughts or reactions to these?
That's really cool. Kathy, I've never seen it that way. Especially the change your mind part, worded in that manner.
Uh-huh.
I know we talk about transformation and all different ways to say it. That's just a neat way to word it, because it says it with confidence.
Yeah. Like it's an expected part of the process, right?
Yeah.
I like the Dr. Phil one, because it forces somebody to think a little bit outside of the norm, outside of the box in terms of what they've been doing, just zooming out what's really important to you and challenging the strategy that they're living. Is it conducive to what's really important to you and being who you want to be?
Yeah. It's so easy to get caught up on the hamster wheel, if you will. And okay, I'm doing it. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, is this really where I want to be going and what I want to be doing? What's
And that's why you can change your mind, right?
Yep, for sure. And I kept looking and I found this one on tinybuddha.com. Get very clear on your own values and motivations for this change. I love this one. Prepare a comeback. Seek out supporters. Filter your updates. Be a resource and push through it. What's this one bring up for people?
The change is hard.
Yeah. Meaningful change, especially, right? I think about sometimes when you're working with a client and they just get stuck, right? Because it takes work. And I love asking that question. Okay, what are the benefits of staying stuck? Because there are benefits to staying stuck. They don't have to put in the work. There's some value in just staying where they're at. And change is hard. It takes work. I thought it was really interesting where it says, filter your updates. What does that evoke for people? I think I'm seeing people think, let me throw this out. Have you ever noticed that you have somebody and they're sharing their updates and there's this heavy focus on kind of the negative and the problem? To me, that's what this speaks to. Let's focus on the progress, the positive, where we can go, instead of reinforcing the problem.
I think, Kathy, for me, what it kind of says too, the way I'm kind of looking at that is, number one, get very clear on your own values and motivations. And I think if you always come back to what would be true north in that, then when you filter those updates, if it aligns with that, then it may be something of value. If it doesn't, then maybe you're not clear on your values. That's kind of what I was getting.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah. That's a nice way to check it. Does it align? So good. All right. So how can we in turn start enhancing results? On the part of the coach, it's forever developing our coaching competencies, living our coaching ethics, and staying true to the process. The danger that I see, and we even have conversations about it, like at ICF, there's an ethics community practice and the PCC assessor community. And coaches will say, well, I just want to tell them what to do. And I can see what the problem is. I just want to tell them, is that true to coaching? Yeah. And does it work? No. Now, of course, on the part of the client, their own attitude toward it, the action they're taking, and how they're managing their own accountability for it. I'm guessing there's a lot more. What do you think is a good idea to add to this list?
I would say their commitment.
Mhm.
I like it. Yes, that's a good add.
Openness.
Okay.
Bravery to try something different, something maybe they feel is unattainable initially.
Mm-hmm. No. And it's I think this was, we were talking about the temptation of a coach to tell, and a comment in the chat box. No, it doesn't work. The client needs to feel empowered to make meaningful change. Absolutely. Good. And then true readiness for change. Awesome. All right. Next up, how can you enhance results? So first off, be intentional about it. Before coaching, obviously we're preparing ourselves. During coaching, maintaining that presence, focusing on client priorities and plan. And then when we're wrapping up a coaching engagement, setting up the long-term strategies for the client after coaching. Of course, this is a really limited overview. I think confidence is really important. I talk about, in order for coaching to be successful, both the coach and the client have got to be confident in the coach's coach, confident in the coaching process, and confident in the client and their ability to figure it out and do it. On our part, what do we control? We control ourselves. So being confident in ourselves as coach, knowing, hey, I've got the training, I've got the process, and it does work. And then believing in our clients. Truly being a coach. What's that bring up for people? I expand on being a coach with saying there's a difference between doing coaching and being a coach. Is that sparking a few thoughts?
I think when I'm in the right headspace of being a coach, I don't feel that I have to have all the answers, and I don't feel that I have to know the next question. I can just be in the moment and let the process take over and not me.
Yeah. Which goes back to our competencies where it talks about be comfortable not knowing. I love that one. All right, let's talk tips and techniques. First off, the preparation, the presence to the client, the plan. How are we going to work together? How does the client want to process through? And then really partnering with them. Strategy and actions, accountability. What else is important in preparing and planning for that partnership?
I would say an open line of communication, making sure that they are getting what they need from you and continuously asking for feedback. And if they're happy with how the relationship is progressing and their progress in it.
Yeah, brilliant. What else?
I think for me, it's kind of like, I would say the preparation part between preparation and presence is giving myself time for that session. So if I'm running from one conversation to another or meeting to another, I don't have time to just put that aside. I don't want to come in with what I just discussed. I want to be able to focus. And if I don't have that time, I don't feel that I'm giving fully my attention to the client.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard me tell that story of the person that comes home from work every day and they stop outside their front door and they go like this and they go inside their house. And in the morning they come out and they go like this and they go off to work. And the neighbor next door sees this and after a while can't stand it anymore and says, goes over and says, okay, we're great neighbors. Everything's cool. We borrow tools back and forth. We even grill in the backyard a few times. It's just that you do this thing outside your door every night and every morning. It just kind of looks a little different. And I just want to know what you're doing. Oh, sure. I'll tell you. I come home from work and I take all of my problems and I hang them up in the tree. And I go inside and I'm home with my family. In the morning when I come out, they've never blown away in the wind, washed away in the rain. Nobody's ever stolen them. That's when I can do something about them. So I go ahead and I take them on and I go off to work. I think that's a big part. Speaking of what you're saying, Renee, is setting ourselves up so we have the ability to take all of our stuff and set it aside and truly be present and in the moment with the client. And then when we can do something about it, sure, that's when we'll take it on again and deal with things. I'm hoping for a reaction. You like that one? Good. Good. Speaks, in a lot of ways, speaks to emotional intelligence, huh? Right. So, good. All right. Of course, think competencies. If we're going to help a client with meaningful change, they've got to know that this conversation is confidential. Our minds has got to be open and curious. We got to make sure it's all about client choice. We demonstrate respect and support for them. We stay flexible and grounded. We actively listen with intention and we rephrase. And there's a little note about the rephrasing. It's for the client's benefit. Sometimes we go into it thinking, okay, I want to make sure I heard that right. Ultimately, that rephrase serves the client because they know they were heard and understood, and it helps their own clarity. When they hear rephrase back to them, whatever they said, it helps them be clear on what it is they said. The powerful questions that we ask, and then of course, supporting that transformation, the learning, the awareness that comes out of it into what the action is, moving it forward with that change. I think it's really interesting to take the competencies that we've all learned and studied and just lay them out when we're thinking about change. Thoughts or reactions here?
I think it's really helpful to see it this way, Kathy.
Say more.
It just helps to organize it a bit when I look at it this way.
Mm-hmm. Good. And other thoughts?
Well, it's taking the textbook competencies and turning them into, this is how we do it. We do it through confidentiality and being open and curious and respecting and supporting. So it's kind of the how of the competencies.
Yeah. Or I think also the how and the word impact comes up for me. The impact of the process that we come with. All right, I'm gonna throw this diagram up and I'm just gonna invite reactions to it. Check it out. Tell me what you're thinking. Who's gonna jump in?
Kathy, you want us to take a stab at interpreting this?
Yeah, or you could be interpreting, you can be reacting. It's wherever you want to go with it, Shelley.
Yeah, it looks like it looks like a plan of human nature, right?
Right.
We become aware of something and we can either accept it or we just, ignore it. And we make a decision, we can plan for it. But if we're unconscious about it, we tend to do something, again, not knowing. And we could get diverted as a result of it, or we can create it as something, it becomes our new normal. I mean, I kind of like the on and off ramps, especially the unconscious piece.
Yeah, sometimes people get pulled into changes without really even noticing or being aware of it. And I think when you're aware, you got 3 different directions. You can ignore it, you can accept it, or you can start planning and moving forward with it.
Kathy, to me, when I look at it, it just further reinforces that our job is to help with the unconscious part of helping to go through that transformation and for people to realize different thoughts and approaches.
Yeah, the creating awareness component.
Creating awareness. Yeah, that whole part is, it's not as linear, it's not necessarily linear on the parts that are in the middle of aware, plan, act. Part of what Shelley was saying, there's this divergence, different things that occur along the way, and having us try to help that unconscious part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I almost feel like when you say that, oh, and we forgot to add some of the obstacles that happen along the way too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. Good stuff. Oh, and Shelley added a comment for what you said. She said, I love that. It's truly the sweet spot when we can help take what is unconscious to become conscious. Yeah, good point. Interesting. All right, so let's play with coaching questions. I'll throw out a few basics, and I'm going to ask all of you to contribute. When you're working with the client on change, what are some of the questions we can ask? So I've got a few here. Add to them. You can do it in the chat box. You can come on live and say it. What are some questions you've used or thought about using? So we've got one in here. What happens if you did change? What happens if you don't change? I like those. What are some of the other possibilities? Nice. Say
I
that
often
again.
ask, I'm sorry, you there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I often ask, how does it feel reasonable?
Mm,
When they'll say, well, I could start doing what have you. Even if I know it's what they need to do, if it doesn't feel reasonable or possible for them, it's not helpful.
yeah. Very
So
true.
ask them if it feels reasonable for them, or is that something you can do today? Because if they start making excuses for why they can't do it today or tomorrow, it means they're not really comfortable doing it. And we need to explore it a little bit more.
Yeah. On that same vein, I've asked the question, what's your level of commitment to following through on this? So we've got, let's see, what are some of the other possibilities? What is at stake? Ooh, that's a great question too, right? What does that change look like 3, 6, 9, or 12 months from now? Awesome. Another great question. If I keep going, like, what's the impact of this change? Who else is going to be impacted by it and how? Oh, Renee's got one. What's holding you back? How will it feel, look when the change happens? Good. You know what's funny, Renee, when you typed in what is holding you back, what pops into my mind is really the most common barrier most of us have is ourselves, right? We're the ones holding ourselves back. And that brings me to asking questions like, okay, what are you telling yourself? Or what is the story you're telling yourself? And exploring that. These are great questions. These are great questions. So I can move us into just the quick wrap up side on resources, or if you want to explore something further, let me know and we can explore something further. So what's your preference, everyone? I'm getting lots of quiet. So I'm going to throw up. I've got our wrap up slides on resources that are available to you. So of course, the Center for Coaching Certification is there as you move forward on your journey. Those of you who are graduates, actually I think everybody here is, unsure if you've seen our coaching firm, Coach 123, and we place graduates into coaching opportunities. So we've got a lot of things coming down the pike. So looking for that if you want to get registered. Of course, there's the blogs, the books, the podcasts we put out, all the social media, which saves you time on your social media, because if you follow like us and ICF and everybody else, you can just repost and reshare. Saves creating content every time. That is what I have for you. So this is the opportunity to just open it up wide open in terms of your questions and what else you want to explore. Total quiet there. Okay. Then I'm going to say thank you very much. Glad to have had you here. Fun exploration. And we're complete with this one. So I'll hang around after if people want to stay and ask questions offline. And this recording will get loaded and I'll send you a link to it. And of course, look forward to whatever else we can do to be of service. So thank you, everyone.